Hey Merfolk fans, I'm Joe. Thanks very much for joining me today. If you'd like to support my channel, please check out the link above to my Patreon page. I'm here with a replay of round 4 of a modern friendly league. I've got Kyle with me. Hi Kyle.
Hey.
And we are 1-2 currently. We beat some Boros combo in round 1 and then proceeded to lose to Titan Shift. Always difficult for Merfolk. And Goblins, unfortunately.
Smash to Smithereens is a good card.
Yep. Can be a total dead card, right, if we just draw lands instead of vials.
Totally.
But it lined up well for them, and this looks like a good opening hand, so we'll keep it. Turn 1. Tapped Hallowed Fountain. Go. Blackleaf Cliffs. So I think at this point we were thinking it was like Hollow One, right? Or it could be Mardu, I guess.
That card is in so many tier
or could be
now.
Jund, I guess, but it's a little strange for these decks to not have 1-drops, but we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Yeah, it is weird.
So I think we just chose to leave up Trickster here, like thinking again that it was like Hollow One.
Yeah.
And if they do get a Hollow One out on turn 2, then we can Trickster it, and then on our turn bounce it with Harbinger. But we
also are doing a pretty good control impression right now.
That's true. Like, right, exactly. I remember us talking about that during the match, is that there's real value to be gained from sort of fooling your opponent with your mana early in the game. So we see an end of turn Street Wraith getting cycled, and I think we were both a little bit sleepy. Like, what deck cycles on end step?
Yeah.
You know?
Twice.
Twice. Like, Hollow One cycles on their main phase because they want to cast things with the Hollow One bonus. And I think we were just both really, really silly and didn't realize what was going on here.
Yeah, we had no idea.
Which is
we
stupid.
Really should have been sharper with it.
Yeah, in hindsight,
this deck has not turned up a lot. The deck that we.
Yeah, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and get a creature on the board here.
Curving out.
So Bugler seems like a decent option. Swing in with the Trickster. One goes down to 14. Flooded Strand. Just go get another island. Get Bugler on the board. So more Bugler action. Let's see what the cards are on the top.
Bugle.
Yeah. All right, another Bugler and a Harbinger. So I think in this case we take the Bugler since we already had a Harbinger and we really don't know what we're playing against. So more card draw is good. Another Street Wraith. Interesting. Okay, so at this point, we were finally alerted as to what our opponent was playing. Living End. Excuse me. So fortunately, we haven't dug ourselves into too big of a hole and put 4 creatures on the board or something. But the opponent has quite a nice graveyard right now. And we are going to lose our creatures. We have nothing in the graveyard, and so we're in a bit of a tough spot here. Harbinger can slow them down a little bit. 2 Lords is nice. So we're looking at an army of 4 toughness creatures. We could play Sygg and leave up Protection to sort of eat one of the attacks, but then we're still taking 9, which doesn't seem amazing. Could play 2 Lords, but then they're only 3/3s. We could leave up Instant Speed Harbinger, bounce one of their attackers.
Block another one.
Well, then we're chumping, right? Which doesn't seem optimal. I think we would probably take 9 and then play 2 Lords the following turn, so at least we have a 4/4 and then 2 Lords. I think that seems like a good line, but I think we went a different way here. I think it might be kind of reversible. If you play the 2 Lords first, you could... so they're going to attack, and then we can get more value by just hard casting, main phasing Harbinger instead of casting him at instant speed.
And playing a Sygg as well, so we'll have 2 4/4s and we set them back a little bit. But that Kessig Wolfrun, who plays that?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. If some of you guys watching are familiar with Living End, is Kessig Wolfrun standard as like a singleton? Seems like a nice way to close out the game, but you can see in this position, it's going to be hard for us to deal with because even if we get bodies in front of these guys, they can push damage over the top. I think we just decided to take this entire hit here. So it was like 13, right? So we're going straight down to 5. And then they're representing just one extra point of damage on board right now, but again, it's trample, so and they're continuing to get more creatures on the board. If they blow up one of our lands, we can't even play 2/2 drops anymore. And I think they pause us on our upkeep, yeah. And if we don't draw a land there, we can only play one creature, and I think Harbinger is the best choice.
Yep.
If we bounce the 4/4, we can potentially block one of the 3/4s and just eat it with Harbinger, but then the other 2 would be lethal without throwing the Lords in front. So bluffed attacks or something, but we're definitely not in an offensive position right now. I don't think if we realized earlier that it was Living End, I don't think we could have positioned ourselves much better. Okay, opponent now has 2 damage over the top with Wolf Run if they go that way with it. Okay, so I think we just knew that we were dead here, because if we throw both of the Lords in front of, individual Street Wraiths, then they're just jumping, which is absolutely miserable. And we'd also lose the Harbinger because the Lords are dying. Actually, as it stands, we're losing the Harbinger anyway. But if the guy just realizes what his Wolf Run does, we should just be dead in this spot.
We were hoping that he wouldn't realize.
Yeah. So yeah, he's pumping. I think this is not lethal this turn. He buffed this guy to a 5/4.
What a weird choice.
So
I think that was a misplay.
Yeah, it could have been. I mean, he still has trample with this guy, right? I'm just going through the combat math there, because we had the 4/4 in front of a 3/4, and then this guy, it was a 5/4, but we had 2. Okay, right. So it's 3 damage and then 2, and the 2 was marked, so the Lord died after combat. Silvergill, none of this really matters too much, because if we play Bugler, he can just buff this guy to 5 power and trample over us. So I guess the play was Silvergill. I don't know what out we're drawing to here.
Land for
spread. Land. Yes. Okay. So land and then put it on the Wolf Run. Yeah.
Yes.
So
land for seas to put on the Wolf Run.
Exactly.
Yeah. Go to 1.
And we got another plains just so we could play Sygg and hold up an activation. Yeah. So that was actually pretty savvy. I mean, we played to our outs, and at least we're not necessarily dead next turn, although it's still not great because we're just chump blocking. Okay. Yeah, this was one of the few times I've ever seen Demonic Dread's actual ability apart from Cascade come into play. So by making Silvergill not able to block, the opponent can simply choose not to cast Living End and just attack unblockable.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever seen that.
It's definitely come up against me before, but it's pretty rare. But anyhow, I mean, it was cool. We drew our land off Silvergill and were able to turn this off. If they didn't have that Demonic Dread, we would have had to chump. Then we could have followed up with Sygg with activation up. I don't know, could have let us tread water for a little bit longer, potentially hit like a Master of Waves or something and start stabilizing. But they have 5 cards in hand, which means that they're probably going to be pretty comfortable regardless. Yeah, so as I was saying, we were a little bit in the dark at the beginning when we probably should have understood earlier that we were playing against Living End, but we played out a Bugler who was just a value card, right? He actually replaced himself, so that was fine. And I think a Trickster, just because we didn't really know what we were playing against. And in theory, I guess we could have held the Trickster if we realized we were playing against Living End, but I'm not sure what the best play is there.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I mean, pushing damage isn't terrible either early in the game. All right, so lost game 1 to Living End, which you kind of expect to do because it's the explosive combo deck, and a lot of people are just not prepared in game 1 for that kind of stuff. But we'll go ahead and have a look at the sideboard and see how game 2 went. Okay, back for game 2. Open up the sideboard. Kyle, you want to walk through what the sideboarding decisions were here?
Sure. So it looks like we took out 2 Spreading Seas and 4 Sygg River Guide, and we brought in all
And the buglers and
militia buglers.
and the buglers. So I think we were just thinking this is the opposite of a grindy matchup.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the white cards in the main deck are not really geared to this kind of matchup. But fortunately, we have some good white sideboard cards that we can bring in.
So the marquee sideboard card that we brought in this matchup is Rest in Peace. We have 4 in the board.
Right.
So
four
pretty smart.
4 rest in
sideboarding.
Yeah, 4 Rest in Peace, 4 Deprive, and then we brought in the 2 Settle the Wreckages because it's kind of incredible because unlike we were talking about during the deck tech, like Blessed Alliance against aggro decks, like making people sacrifice creatures, that would actually be okay for living end because they would just come back. But Settle the Wreckage actually exiles creatures. So it's pretty sensational in this matchup.
Definitely.
So again, let's see. How many cards do we bring out exactly? We've got 4 of these guys out, 4 Syggs, and 2 Spreading Seas. So that means 10 cards out. And yeah, so that's 10 in. We brought in 4 Deprive, 4 Rest in Peace, and the 2 Settle the Wreckages.
Yep, that's correct.
All right. So we would like to play first. And I remember this hand now.
Yeah.
We thought about it for a minute, but it's just like, how can you possibly mulligan this hand? You can't.
Yeah.
This is one.
You could. There are no creatures in it, but we were like, nah, this is good.
Well, even after sideboarding, we still have near 30 creatures or something in the deck. So there's no doubt that we'll draw some creatures. And Rest in Peace basically gains you. It gains you so much in this matchup. First of all, it's like the 3 or 4 turns that they need to just make land drops in order to start casting creatures. And then they're committing creatures to the board like 1 at a time instead of just getting you with like 8 at once from living end. So we kept this, and the opponent kept as well. Being on the play makes this extra great because we can just slam Rest in Peace when the opponent has only played a single land.
Yeah.
What
and
outs?
Having this many white sources is really great.
Yeah, the outs that Living End plays to Rest in Peace include Beast Within. They might have some number of Abrupt Decays. Anything else, or is that about it?
Could be Croson Grip as well.
Okay, so we drew a Harbinger, which is a body, which is nice. As I was saying, we pretty sure we would hit some number of creatures. And pretty clear plan here. Just going to slam the Rest in Peace. We haven't even talked about Deprive, which is another bomb in this matchup. We can sort of pick and choose what's important and what's not. And once Rest in Peace is down, and the opponent has to basically get to like 5 mana to start casting any creatures. If they cast, a creature that seems inconsequential, we can hold the Deprive back. But if once they start, trying to resolve things like Archfiend, having the Deprive is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And having like 3 or 4 extra turns to draw into more creatures is going to be pretty good, I think. All right, so opponent has mana for something like Abrupt Decay, but they didn't go for it right away. So I think we're just in a holding pattern for the time being.
We're planning on fetching end of their turn to get the other Hallowed Fountain to minimize damage from the mana base in the future.
Yeah, and we could pass, I guess, next turn, and if they don't do anything, we can bring in Harbinger if we want to start doing some damage. Okay, so Fulminator Mage could slow us down a little bit, but it's definitely not the kind of thing that we want to waste a Deprive on. We have 3 more lands in hand.
And we're not worried about that.
Yeah, we're not really afraid of Fulminator like blowing up a land.
It was great last game for them.
It was pretty good for them the previous game. So they're going for it. Fulminator Mage just goes straight to exile. Pretty nice. Float mana just to be that guy. And we had a decision to make here as to whether we would go ahead and take this opportunity to play the Lord or hold up Deprive, because I'm pretty sure all their creatures start at 5 mana. I don't think there's any 4-drop creatures in the deck, but we would potentially be leaving ourselves open to Beast Within on the Rest in Peace. So we didn't feel particularly pressured to play out a creature right away. So opponent just plays a land and passes, so it's possible we had a window there to play a creature. And so now I think we do have that window of opportunity, so we'll go ahead and get the Lord down. Probably better to keep Harbinger in hand for now, just because they can eventually get creatures down. Okay, so they're starting to cycle here, potentially missing a land drop. It's just another Fulminator Mage, so continuing to blow up our lands. That's kind of annoying, but not really bad because we've got replacements.
Yeah, we started the game with so many lands.
Yeah, I think we had 5 lands in hand and continue to draw more. So get in with the Lord. It's a pretty slow clock, but Living End is doing nothing, especially missing their 5th land drop. So this is a situation now where we can hold up Deprive and potentially go for Harbinger on end step. But it looks like the opponent is trying to do something. So Monstrous Carabid. I think this is a situation where we would continue to hold Deprive, right?
That's what I think is correct now. I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, we were really putting a lot of value on this Deprive. We also have a Harbinger to deal with this thing, you know. So Trickster is live as like a combo with Harbinger. So that was the reason we chose not to flash in Harbinger as another body. Is it's actually valuable to deal with this Carabid, get it back in the guy's hand. Seize is nice as a redraw. I think we put it on the Tomb. If we can cut them off of green, it takes them off of spells like Abrupt Decay and Beast Within. So Master of Waves will be very nice eventually.
Once we have 6 mana to hold up Deprive along with casting.
Right, so currently we just have 5, but next turn we should have that 6th mana down. Our opponent just continues to cycle. They did hit their 5th land drop last turn. Well, they're getting in with Carabid. Pretty nice for us, I think. We can now we have a choice. We can either play Harbinger and bounce the Carabid, or and hold up Deprive, or Master of Waves and hold up Deprive. Another Master of Wave makes it kind of obvious, I think, what we should probably do. So go to attacks first, and then go for Master of Waves just because we still have Deprive up, and second Master of Waves is just so powerful.
Yeah.
Now, we're quite careful there to leave up 2 basics, because if the opponent has another Fulminator Mage, they could do something like Fulminator Mage, blow up your land, go to second main phase. So floated mana could be gone, and then something like Abrupt Decay. But at this point, if they can't answer Master of Waves, it's just kind of GG. So now I think it's Master of Waves has become a bigger threat basically than Rest in Peace to their strategy this game.
Yeah. Now they might be going for the board.
Okay, so this is a bit of a curveball. I don't know that all Living End decks are playing this spell, maybe as a singleton or something, but it's sort of like a Cascade spell, but only if they have Living End in hand. It's kind of the opposite of the normal Living End situation where they don't want it in hand, they want to Cascade into it. Here, it says you may cast a card with converted mana cost 2 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. So since this means they're probably trying to wrath our board, I think we're going to counter that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can see
next turn we should be able to play the second Master of Waves and just finish the game.
I don't even think we have to, right? Because you can block anything and he's still taking 10. So, but yes, second Master of Waves would be very, very easy win. All right, so you can see being patient with Deprive is really important. If we countered Carabid, then our board wouldn't have really mattered. He would have wiped it with the Living End. Of course, he wouldn't get anything back since we have the Rest in Peace on the table and we could start rebuilding. But holding Deprive was absolutely the correct call there. So, sideboard. What's that?
I said, good job, us.
Good job, us. Sideboard cards coming in clutch. We kept 5 lands and 2 non-creature two non-creature spells. And it was definitely the right decision. So let's go ahead to game 3 and see if our sideboard decisions continue to pay off. All right, back for game 3. Opponent will be on the play. And 1, 2, 3 lands, AEther Vial. Now, AEther Vial is pretty good in this matchup, I find, because we want to often hold up mana for counterspells. So, and Settle the Wreckage is interesting. We don't really want 2 of them in our hand, but it is sideboard tech, and if they have an explosive opening with a Living End, Settle the Wreckage can pretty much wreck them, I think. So I think we kept it. We kept this, right?
Yeah. We're seeing our sideboard cards. That's good.
Yes, we are, and I think we had a similar discussion when we saw this hand. Just the idea that how can you mulligan a hand with lands, AEther Vial, and sideboard cards, and a creature. You know,
yeah,
it's obviously a little light on threats, but you know, if you were to describe what you want in an opening hand, you would say lands, AEther Vial, sideboard cards, and some Merfolk. And that's what it is. It just looks a little bad, you know.
It does, but you know, we have way more creatures than sideboard cards.
Yeah,
so
well, we have
has a bunch of sideboard cards.
We have a lot of lands in the deck too.
Yeah. So we figured, no, this is a good keep.
As long as we don't continue to draw lands.
Yes.
All right. So opponent cycles Street Wraith, but they don't actually have another cycler. Interesting. Okay, Blooming Marsh, go from the opponent. We're gonna start taking up AEther Vial. All right, another Lord. That's pretty solid. And without any other option this turn, I think just playing out a Lord seems like a good way to go.
Mm-hmm.
So still no cycling from the opponent. Pass the turn. All right. So pick up the AEther Vial. And all right, this is getting a little bit better. We're drawing into more gas.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were pretty conservative here. There's really no reason to cast a second Lord, is there?
No, I don't think so.
No. I think we can take this opportunity to play Hallowed Fountain tapped, take, deal less damage to ourselves. And the opponent continues to not cycle any creatures. They play out a Dryad Arbor and pass again. And this is where I think we're going to Vial in another Lord, because we don't really want to keep pushing an 8-turn clock, right? Much better to chop that down by adding another Lord to the table. Yeah, and we'll have mana up for Settle the Wreckage next turn, although it doesn't look like it's actually going to play such a large role since the opponent apparently has no creatures.
So it makes you wonder what kind of hand they kept.
Yeah, it does really, right? I mean, what did they keep? I mean, they probably have some Cascade spells, so they can like Wrath our board at will. But they're not really going to get anything back. All right, so just swing in for 6. Looks like the opponent is blocking with the Dryad Arbor. That's something that could come back with a Cascade spell. Play a second Vial and pass. Tapped Overgrown Tomb and opponent passing the turn. Not a lot of action. Okay, go ahead and get our second Hallowed Fountain. Leave this file on 2, take this file up to 1. And more land. So just go to attacks, I guess, right?
Yep.
Not much to think about. I guess the opponent could just play a Violent Outburst. And they do. So we're going to lose our 2 creatures, and the opponent's going to get back a Street Wraith and a Dryad Arbor. You know, it's kind of funny, right? Because we almost wish that their plan this game had been just active cycling, to get back like 6 creatures, and then we just exile them all. But this actually
we're ready for that, good. You know.
Yeah, we're ready for that. But if they have all those cyclers, you know, they're actually replacing themselves in hand. So, this is in the end probably better for us. All right, opponent still got 5 cards in hand. They're going to get in with the Street Wraith, and I didn't see enough value yet, so we just did not play the Settle yet.
No, we did not.
Plenty of life to work with. Time to Vial in this Lord. It's almost certain that the opponent has more Cascade spells in hand, because if they kept a hand with apparently, you know, nothing so far, just a Street Wraith and lands, the only other option is if they don't have creatures, they have to have Cascade spells. I mean, they could have like Beast Withins that they just don't see a lot of value in. Although, yeah, it's hard to explain, you know, like what they could have. I think we chose there during upkeep to crack the Polluted Delta, but just to increase our chance of drawing gas.
Marginally
in the deck a little bit. Yeah, so go to attack with the Lord of Atlantis. We're certainly not going to block with him. And we didn't really see a reason to Vial in Silvergill Adept on our turn. I mean, if we, for example, Vialed it in and drew like a Master of Waves, I don't even know if we would have committed the Master of Waves to the board on that turn. Okay,
yeah,
so
because they certainly have board wipes right now.
Wolf Run is interesting because if they go all in, buffing one of their creatures with Wolf Run, then Settle becomes much better. But if they don't go in with Wolf Run, then it's probably better for us, I think, to keep taking damage. I mean, we're still above 10.
Comfortably, yeah.
Yeah.
Comfortably sitting and waiting.
So just hard casting Horror of the Broken Lands. So setting themselves up, or setting us up to get a little more value off Settle, in theory. This guy can be scary because once they do draw into some cycling cards, this guy can get pretty big. All right, so let's see. End step, time to bring in Silvergill, hopefully drawing a creature, and that's pretty good. Now, I think I misplayed here by not flashing in Trickster, you know? We could have just tapped the Horror and gotten in a nice attack. It would have been...
Yeah, I think I was advocating for that.
I think you did as soon as I clicked through. Like, It's like, okay, we drew a card with Silvergill, let's go to our turn. I was like, oh, wait.
Yeah, no, wait, Joe!
We drew Trickster, and, yeah. Okay, so creatures are good.
Yeah.
Filing in Trickster lets us leave up Settle, which was the plan, and lets us get in an attack, but not for as much as we should have gotten in for.
Still puts us in a fine position.
It does, yeah. I mean, it was a misplay before, but so this is interesting. The opponent's just getting in with the Horror. We can wait and sort of see if they cycle anything or if they go for Wolf Run. And since we have at this point 2 Settles in hand still, and the game is getting to a point where we're getting close to sort of pushing lethal, it seemed reasonable just to pop off one of these Settles, right?
Yep, definitely.
The opponent probably feels good for not attacking with the Street Wraith. I mean, they probably realize they need to have a decent blocker back. And it's interesting that they haven't been going for Wolf Run, just sort of further indication that they might have some wrath effect, you know, like another Violent Outburst. I think we're going to leave the vials where they are. We're getting really low on time. I think during the league we were just like talking too much about our options. All right, so what's going?
It was for the benefit of the viewers who didn't get to watch the the video because of technical difficulties.
Yeah, we did do this league with live commentary, but the videos just didn't work really. So what are we looking at here? The opponent's got 2 blockers. We don't really have a great attack right now, but we have kind of an amazing end step Vial activation for lethal next turn. So
yeah, I think we get the Lord out so we can attack with Silvergill and Trickster and trade with the Street Wraith.
Yeah, actually, so bringing the Lord in makes sense, right? I think they're sort of they have to block here. Now that our creatures are a little bit bigger, and with Living End, it makes sense for them, I think, to block with both of them since they probably have Cascade spell. They don't. They're just beasting within, and we still have Master of Waves in hand. So Beast Within is often sort of precursor to Living End because we'll just lose our Beast token. So they do have Demonic Dread, which is the sorcery speed option to Cascade. We got back the 2 Lords from the previous time that they cast Living End. And again, the opponent not getting back great stuff. So yeah, things looking pretty sunny on our side.
Now.
pretty decent. If they Living End again at this point, they have 0 creatures in the graveyard right now.
And we have a bunch.
Yeah, we have a bunch is a fair description. And obviously the Living End opponent just doesn't have a very good hand this game. No 2 ways about it. So Anger of the Gods, I'm not sure they realized that was going to leave the Master, but either way, it was almost certainly their best option at that point.
Yep.
So another master just means we get a bunch more tokens, and I think we just decided here that at 12 life, with them obviously not really doing anything, getting more elementals is a good way to go. So we vialed in Harbinger for more tokens, and we keep sort of making the opponent have it. If they have a Cascade spell now, what would we get back? We would get back a bunch of good Merfolk, and they would get back a Dryad Arbor.
Yeah.
So
we get back Lord, Silvergill, Harbinger.
Trickster.
Oh,
it was Lord, Trickster, Silvergill. So
okay.
Even their living end wouldn't really help them, and they've already spent 2 of them, and I think they maybe only play 3 in most lists of living end.
I think that's true. Yeah.
It's just because they don't want to draw it, you know. So I think they tend to run 3, but I could be wrong. I'm not an expert at living end by any means. All right, so sideboard tech helped us get there for sure in game 2. It was kind of amazing just keeping 5 lands and Rest in Peace and Deprive. But this game was I think it was more like just the regular Merfolk beatdown plan. Settle was basically a 4 mana Path to Exile. Just killed one of their creatures and replaced it with a land. Wolf Run came into play again, but it didn't really do anything this game. Opponent had opportunities to activate it, but they felt obliged to leave up Violent Outburst, I think. And yeah, that's it. I think we tend to have a decent matchup against Living End, because even in mono blue we run 4 relics and 4 deprives. So it's just sort of amped up a notch with the white splash, because relic becomes Rest in Peace, and it becomes kind of impossible for them to do anything broken.
Right, until they get rid of the Rest in Peace.
Right, which, we didn't see anything like that in either of the 2 games. Well, we finally saw a Beast Within in this game, but it didn't get rid of a Rest in Peace. It just got rid of AEther Vial. Yeah, they tried to, I guess, like lure us into vialing in a Master if we had it before they wiped the board, but we did not
fall for it.
We didn't get tricked. All right, so that brings us back to 2-2 in this league. So hoping for a decent matchup in round 5. Any final remarks, Kyle?
Comeback time part 2.
Comeback time part 2. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.